Hello, I'm Daisy from Whole and Home, and today I'm going to give you some tips on how to declutter your books. So the first step on decluttering your books is to categorize them. Now the categories could be, depending on how many you've got, it could just be fiction or non-fiction. If you've got lots, then it could be, you could break them down into author, into a further category such as the type of genre if it's a fiction book, or the kind of information book that it is, such as cookbook or health related books, or just whatever makes sense to you. Categorize your books so that you've got a number of different piles of books, each of them based on your broken down category. Now the second step is to go through and from each category, without giving any thought, pick out your favourites. These are the ones that you absolutely must keep. You love them, they resonate with you, they align with your values, and just put those to one side. If this is taking you too long, you're not doing it right. It should be really quick and easy to just pick your favourites. And don't worry, you're not going to have to throw away any of the ones that are left in your piles. This is just the first pass through. And we'll be making decisions on the other ones shortly. So now that you've got your pile of ones that you really love, just take a moment before we go on to the next step. Through a bug. Just take a moment to look at the pile that you love and just savour how that makes you feel. It should make you feel really positive. It should feel, they should just feel like you. They should feel right. And just savour that, because it will help you when making decisions about the remaining books. And so now we're going to make decisions about these remaining books, and this is the hard part, but don't worry, because hopefully some of my tips can help. So pick each of your remaining books up and ask yourself some of the following questions. Do I still like this book? Hand over, hold a book. Do I still like this book? Does it resonate with me? Why am I keeping this book is another really good one to ask. And finally, you might ask, what does my keep pile feel like if I put this book in it? If it doesn't feel as good to you, that's a really good indication that you should probably let this book go. So there are some questions that you can ask yourself that will help you decide. But you might still have some problems in some particular areas, and I'll go through some of these areas now with you and just give you some guidance on how you might handle these issues that you face. So the first type of book that you might find difficult are guidance books, any sort of non-fiction informative book that you've bought that you think is useful, but you don't align with the values that of the book. For example, if it's self-help, you read it before and you like it, you've gotten a few things out of it, but you kind of grown from the point when you read that book. And it could be any sort of information book that you don't particularly use much or align with, or use at all, in fact. Don't feel bad about letting those books go. The kind of guidance books that you should be keeping are the ones that you reference often, the ones that are really useful to you, the ones that align with your values now and that you resonate with. Any information from the ones that you let go of that is important to you, you'll retain anyway, so don't be fearful of that. Now the second type of book that you might consider letting go of are books that you're keeping because you think they make you look intelligent. And now I'm ashamed to say that I had a few books like this. There were a few information books like that for me, but where I struggled in this category was with classic novels. I had read a lot of classic novels, bought and read a lot of classic novels at university. And these days, if I'm honest, I prefer reading easy reads. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just what I prefer. So what it means is that while I really enjoyed those classic novels, I'm not going to read them again. I remember the ones I liked. I can speak about them with people if the topic comes up, and that's fine. And I realised that the reason I guess I'd been holding on to them was because they make me feel smart. And if people saw them in my home, I could say, "Oh, I've got this book," you know, or they could see them and think, "Oh, she's cultured." You've got nothing to prove to anybody. So if you're not going to read the book again, and you know, you're not going to enjoy it again, and it doesn't mean that much to you anymore, please let it go. You know, I did keep a few classic books, ones that I absolutely adore and that I go to see as plays these days, and I reread time and time again. That's fine, but just ask yourself why you're keeping certain books. If they are to make you feel a certain way or look a certain way to other people, is perhaps not the right reason to keep it. So the next category of books you might find difficult is cookbooks. Particularly if someone, those tend to be a lot of gifts. People tend to buy them for other people. They're easy gifts to buy. And what that means though is that you end up with a load of books, and the recipes aren't ones that you would actually choose for yourself. Or you might have bought yourself the cookbook but just don't really like using it. I noticed myself when I was recently decluttering my books, I'd been using this cookbook maybe 5-10 times without actually enjoying using it or enjoying the recipes, just so that I could justify having spent some money on it. Now, you deserve to cook only the meals that you really enjoy. Cooking should be fun and eating should be fun. So please pass those cookbooks on to people who will enjoy them and get something from them, and just use the ones that you actually like using. Now the next category, so I've got a little notes thing down here. The next category, similar to going on from the cookbook gifts, is any kind of books that were gifts. Okay, so you might want to keep them for say 6-12 months if you feel, you know, a bit wasteful for giving it away. You might want to give it a go, or if a friend bought it for you, say they might come over and ask where it is or try and, you know, look for it. You might feel there's a reason that you want to keep the book for a short period of time, and please do so if that makes you feel comfortable. Sorry. But if you try reading it and you don't like it, or you don't think it's for you, the gift was given and it's already been received by you, and that moment's been had. And the person who gave you the book would never want you to feel obligated to read it if you didn't want to, and they really wouldn't want you to feel guilty about that. The idea of gifts is that they're enjoyed, so please eventually pass those books on to people who will enjoy them. And don't feel guilty if you do get asked if you'd read the book, you know, after a certain amount of time. Don't feel guilty about being honest in a kind way. You know, I gave it a go, it wasn't for me. That's okay. But perhaps if you do give gifts of books to people, refrain from asking whether they enjoyed it, because you might be, you know, getting them into that negative, obligated spiral. Gift books are a funny one because books are so personal. So another type of book that you might find difficult are books that you've started reading and you haven't finished yet. Or books that you've bought or people have given you again, that you don't really want to read, and you just keep putting off reading it or finishing it because really there are other things that you'd rather read. Reading should be a fun, pleasurable experience, and you should not feel like it should not feel like a task. Letting go of these books that in all honesty, you haven't really got that much interest on reading, or you find boring, letting go of these books feels like a really big weight lifted off your shoulders, because they add to your sort of never-ending to-do list in your mind, or you might actually have them in a section of your bookshelf, ones that you haven't finished. They add to this stressful feeling of a to-do list, so letting them go does feel like a weight has been lifted, and it frees you up just to reading the books that you will really enjoy, which you deserve to be doing. And finally, the last category I can think of that could be useful to you that you might struggle with is novels that you've read once that you won't read again. Just keep the novels that resonate with you, that you love, that you're going to revisit time and time again, that really speak to you. Any novel that you read once, these easy beach reads that you may have enjoyed it, but you're not going to go raving about it, you certainly won't read again. The books deserve to be passed on to somebody else who will read and enjoy it. That's how books should be. They're there to be read. So please pass those books on. And again, only keep the books that really resonate with you, that you will read again, and that you love and value. So finally, you've got those books, the ones that you love, but you will still need to revisit those because your tastes and your values change over time. So just however so often you feel is necessary for you, go back through these keep books and do exactly the same process as we did today, as I spoke about today, asking yourself these questions just to make sure that the books you're keeping are still the books that you really want to keep. So I hope those tips were helpful to you, and I look forward to doing this again soon. Thank you.